meditate together. So my suggestion, given we're a little bit late, is we just launch into it. Yes? Leaving the technical magic to Chris. You can see him nodding in the corner, up in the corner. So beginning with the morning puja. I'll do it the same as yesterday in call and response. I'll lead the phrases, the words, just leaving a space for each of us to repeat them in our mind or out loud. And I was reflecting, verses like this, you can do them again and again and again and never really hear them, never really take in the meaning. But it might be that one day, it's like the penny drops, you know, the penny drops, and we suddenly understand what the verses are saying to us. And maybe today's the day. So we'll do the morning puja, but just try and really be alive to the words, the actual words that are being said. They're called the four reminders. So trying to remind us of something very important. So here we go, the morning puja. This human birth is precious, an opportunity to awaken. But this body is impermanent. Ready or not, one day I shall die. So this life I must know, as the tiny splash of a raindrop, a thing of beauty that disappears, even as it comes into being. The karma I create shapes the course of my life. But however I act, life always has difficulties. No one can control it all. Only the Dharma can free me and others from suffering forever. Therefore, I recall my heart's longing for freedom and resolve to make use of every day and night to realize it. And then the four Brahmavacharis. May all beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the great happiness, devoid of suffering. May they dwell in the great equanimity, free from a craving, aversion, and delusion. So preparing ourselves for another session of the 6-element practice, which I will lead through. And again, like yesterday, there'll be a little bit of time at the end for any reflections you might have or questions you might have. And again, I'll drop in a question for us to reflect on as we go along. But for now, preparing ourselves to meditate and contacting the earth element, just feeling the weight of our bodies dropping down through our solid matter, through our spine, our sitting bones supported by the earth beneath us. Feeling the earth element within, our solidity, our substance, giving us shape, holding the rest of us. So appreciating the earth element within us. So our awareness has a kind of quality to it, a feeling quality of appreciation, gratitude. If we become aware of any aches and pains, our earth element, our bones, are causing us, again, just being aware with metta, loving kindness towards ourselves. And taking our mind to the earth element around us, beneath us, the earth supporting us. Maybe through the cushion, through the chair, through the floor, through the foundations of your house, but ultimately there is the earth beneath us. Visualizing it stretching in all directions around us. It's the planet on which we live. It supports us, it supports everyone, it supports all life, gives it a foundation, gives it definition. The quality of the earth element is that it resists us. It is solid. It doesn't really want to change. So maybe it is sometimes frustrating. We bump into the earth element, but we can appreciate it for what it is. And then reflecting that the earth element inside us and the earth element outside us are not two separate categories. There's a flow into us and out of us. You can call it breakfast, lunch and dinner. You can call it a number two. But the earth is flowing in and out of us. So maybe just remembering yesterday's question that we ended with. Out of all this earth, this masses of earth element in us and around us, what of it can I lay claim to? Which bit of it is definitely mine for good? A few months ago in lockdown, a piece of one of my teeth fell out. And it was a bit of a shock, because you like to feel your teeth up. At least your teeth are permanent. But a bit of mine wasn't. I'm sure you have similar memories, experiences. But moving on now, maybe just expanding our awareness to include the water element, the fluidity of our bodies, feeling the saliva in our mouth, maybe the taste of the tea we just drank, being aware of our blood coursing around our veins. Sweat. So many different fluids within us. Kind of precious liquids sustaining us. And the water around us, the rain, puddles, streams, lakes, hot water in the tap, cold water in the tap, the kettle, orange juice. We live on a blue planet, full of water, precious water. And again, taking our attention to the reality that the boundary between the water within us and the water outside us is not fixed. There's a flow. We drink, we pee, we sweat. And the water has been flowing inside, into us and out of us our whole lives. And it will do so our whole lives. So visualizing that, not in a sense of creating a fantasy, but in a sense of recognizing reality. The water element flows in and out of us. If we tried to stop it, we would quickly experience discomfort. Thirst, bursting for a pee, whatever it is. So this process is entirely right and natural. But again, we can ask, out of all this water, what of it can I lay claim to? Which of this water is mine? And even if the answer is none of it, we can reflect that doesn't seem to matter because we seem to function perfectly well, even though we don't actually own any of this water. We can't ultimately control any of this water. We have to let go of that control, and yet here we are. Life goes on. We can function day by day. So again, fire. Visualizing in one way or another the fire element within us, our bodily warmth. And if you're feeling a bit cold, visualizing, bringing to mind the lack of fire, the lack of warmth, wrapping your blanket around you. And with that awareness, there might be feelings of pleasure if you're nice and warm, feelings of discomfort if you're a bit chilly. Allowing them to be there with this metaphor, appreciative, well-wishing towards us. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be warm. And again, bringing to mind the fire element in the world around us. The warmth of the sun, in a way the warmth of the ground, the planet beneath us. Sources of heat, and fire itself, the kind of magical, dangerous, transformative element of fire. If you're touched by fire, you're never quite the same again. And again, recognizing the exchange of the fire element within us and without us. In a way, our dependence upon sources of fire, sources of warmth. Sometimes we can give it. You give somebody a nice warm hug. Sometimes we have to receive it. Warming your hands by the fire. So fire also flows across this apparent boundary which makes us distinct from the rest of the world. So expanding our awareness one step further, moving on to the fourth element, a little bit more in the background, perhaps the air element. Our exchange of air with the rest of the world is so habitual, so automatic, we don't even think about it. It just happens. We call it breathing. Breathing in, breathing out. Exchanging air with the rest of the world. It goes into us, kind of disappears somehow into our lungs, into our blood, and comes out of us. If it's a cold morning, maybe you can see your breath briefly, and then it disperses. And even the most accomplished person can only hold their breath for perhaps 5 minutes, and then the flow, the dance goes on. So taking our mind to our breath, our awareness to our breath. Maybe looking for a sense of gratitude as you follow the flow of breath, the exchange of air. It's quite extraordinary that we can just breathe so freely anytime we want. The other elements, perhaps they're more controlled. You have to go shopping for your food, pay for your gas. But the air, there it is. It's just available. and maybe looking for a sense of us participating in this extraordinary shared gift of all the elements, actually. The earth, the water, fire and air. We share them with all life. The air we breathe in was breathed out by somebody not so long ago. The air we breathe out will be breathed in by somebody quite soon. Likewise, the water, earth and fire. We just share all this. We can't stop the flow of the elements, and they participate in all of us. Actually, it's a little exercise you can bring to mind if you're ever again in a crowded room. Just reflecting the air really is being shared by all the different lungs present. For better or worse, hopefully for better. But all the elements are shared. So we'll move on to space. And I'd just like to introduce today's question for reflection. So yesterday's was, which of these elements can I lay claim to? Can I permanently control? Can I say are part of me? But today's question is, where do I begin and end? So we're sitting in our rooms, scattered about the surface of the planet, I imagine, taking up a certain amount of space, a kind of Lokabandhu shaped piece of space, a Chris shaped piece of space, and so on. And if we move, we take up a different piece of space, standing up, lying down, moving about. We vacate some space, we take up some more space. And maybe we feel it's very clear where we begin and end. It's the surface of our skin. But maybe it's not so clear. So downstairs in the cupboard, there will be some cornflakes or muesli or toast or something. And in half an hour's time, it'll be undeniably part of us. We will have eaten it. But in some sense, there it is, waiting for us. Perhaps already, in some sense, as part of us. But maybe we can feel in our bladders the pressure to go, have a wee. In half an hour's time, that liquid won't be part of us. It will have gone on its journey. So perhaps it's already left us in some way. The air breathing in and out. Where do we begin and end? As we move through space, perhaps we leave some sort of trace behind us. Particularly the spaces we habitually occupy, our chair, our bed, our office, our home. So maybe letting the question be there. Maybe letting the awareness be there that our boundary is not quite so fixed as the simple surface of our skin. Maybe we're bigger than we think. We have more effect on the world than we think. Even though we can control it perhaps less than we think. So just for a few minutes, bring into mind, if you can, all these 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, space. Kind of picturing them as a dance, a constant flow, an intermingling, an amazing pattern of coming and going and sharing and connecting. And ourselves, kind of in the middle of all that, as a kind of something that holds it together. That for the next period of time, hopefully years and decades, we can sort of say there's something recognizable here, which is me. Even though the earth and water and stuff is always flowing, I persist. Something recognizable persists. And something is functioning as the glue, as the organizing force, as the magnet that keeps that shape, that pattern, that identity together. Hard to say what it is, hard to say how it works, but here we are. It works. And to give it a name, we could call it consciousness. It's mysterious, but something is going on. Something is organizing the elements into a recognizable, persisting pattern, which is us. So we can bring that to mind, take pleasure in it, take pride in it. It's extraordinary. It's a mystery, but it's a working mystery. Recognizing that it too, in some way, flows. As the verses of the puja said, ready or not, one day I must die. So at some point, this organizing principle won't quite work so well. Something will happen and the pattern will change. But when we were bringing to mind the other elements, it's very clear nothing is ever destroyed. The elements flow, but they don't disappear. They come in and they go out, but they go out into something else. The earth, the air, the water. So consciousness is organizing us right now, At some point it won't, but it won't disappear. Consciousness is an element like the others. It will go back into something bigger and become part of something else. It's a bit unknowable, but something is going on. So getting a sense, if you can, of consciousness as being that which organizes our current collection of elements, which make us up, which allows us to perceive, to think, to act, to will, to be. A kind of magnet, pulling things together. But then being aware that not so far away, maybe in the same room as you, the same house, at least the same street, there are so many other kind of collections of consciousness, other beings, other magnets, call them what you will, holding together other collections of the earth, water, fire, and air, making other beings. And it's extraordinary. You can go downstairs and talk to them, or out in the streets and talk to them, and it all works. So maybe getting a sense, if you can, of consciousness as this very mysterious element that gives some continuity to the little collection of elements we call us, but nevertheless flows in and out like everything else. Even consciousness is not, we can't lay claim to a permanent chunk of consciousness and call it ours. It participates in, the kind of global, universal collection of consciousness. Even though, for the time being, here we are. Buddhism is very comfortable with different levels of truth. Sometimes it speaks of relative truth and ultimate truth. So from the point of view of relative truth, here we are. This is me. I've got a perfectly definite identity, presence, etc. But from the ultimate point of view, maybe none of that is true. Holding to nothing whatever. But making sure in all that there's a sense of metta, well-wishing, appreciation, gratitude, kindness towards ourselves. And slowly beginning to end this meditation, just coming back to ourselves and the immediate physical experience of sitting, feeling our weight on the ground, our support coming from the earth, feeling any sensations of comfort or discomfort from our earth elements, our bones, our solid body, feeling our water, our fluidity that allows us to move so freely, feeling our warmth, or coldness, again any pleasure or pain associated with that, comfort or discomfort, and being aware of the earth element, the air element, flowing in, flowing out, as it has always done. And being aware of ourselves as a particular shape, a Lokabandhu shaped space, or Chris, or whoever it is, our shape, taking up our shape, our space. So coming back to those immediate sensations. But being aware, even in this moment, of the flow in and out. The air especially, in and out. Letting that question be there, where do I begin and end? And it's a question you can hold through the day if you choose. Just being aware of the kind of impact you have on the world, your presence in the world. And once we become aware of that, we're into the territory of ethics, skillful action, beneficial effects. But for now, ending the meditation, coming out in our own time, having a stretch, opening our eyes, and same as yesterday, there is a bit of time now, if we choose, for any reflections or questions. We're just finishing your cup of tea, if you wish. I should mention tonight there's a talk by Dana Raja, 7:30 I believe it is, which I know he's been thinking about a lot actually for the last period. So I'd recommend that if you are free at 7:30 to come. If Dana Raja wants to say something before we go, that would be great.
Yeah, thanks, Lokabandhu. Yeah, tonight will be a mix of some input, like a talk, but mainly a lot of these kind of glimpse practices where we spend 3 to 5 minutes just looking at our experience from slightly different angles to see, can we unpick what is actually going on. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So hopefully people will come and have a go at that. Yeah. So yeah, see you all later, hopefully.
Thanks, Dana Roger. So apologies again for the late start. My computer refused to wake up. I was there, reasonably awake, but my computer was not. And if there are any reflections or questions, you're very welcome. You'll need to unmute yourself.
Just to say that one of the things that occurred to me during that was something I learned in physics at school about forms of energy. When they study forms of energy, that sometimes they behave like as if they were particles, and sometimes they behave like waves, and that's a paradox that they're finding very difficult to understand. And it's sort of, you know, I think connected with the consciousness thing, and the elements as well, is that particles are sort of solid things that behave in a particular way, and then waves are something that are much more mobile and fluid and can't be grasped. So yeah, that was just something that occurred to me during that. Mm-hmm.
I was going to mention, actually, thank you for that. There's an order member in America called Buddhafield, who runs a meditation website called Wild Minds, who's written a book on the 6 element practice called Living Like a River. And he's got a scientific background, so it comes at it from a fairly scientific point of view. You know, this is earth, water, fire, air, space, and so on. So if you're interested, I would recommend Living Like a River. It's a few years old, probably out of print, but I'm sure copies are available here and there.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Lokabandhu. It's my grandmother's funeral today. So that was a really amazing way to start the day, and I was enjoying that when we say goodbye to her today, that her pattern has changed. I really liked when you said that, and just thinking about my nana, and that now her pattern has changed. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. I hope it goes well.
Thank you.
But it sounds like you'll remember her for a long time. You know, something will remain. Yeah. But where she goes, who knows? But I hope it goes well. Thank you.
Just wondering, Chris, can you just have a look in the chat?
Can't quite hear you.
Yeah, sorry. I think there might be a 5 rhythms tonight. I thought originally it looked like it was on the program for tomorrow night, but maybe it's changed to tonight. Is that right? I'm not sure.
No, it's singing sessions.
Oh, sorry. So singing sessions tonight. That's 6 o'clock, is it, Laura?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's an extra thing there.
Tomorrow.
Come and sing your heart out this evening if you wish.
Oh. Okay. So, any last reflections or questions? Ebs. I can't. You're not muted, but I can't hear you. That's mysterious. You could type your question in the chat. Or save it for Dana Raja tonight.
Day of technical issues, maybe. Hopefully not.
Okay. You're finding it a soothing practice. That's nice. Yeah. I think when you get into the kind of, reflections from a Buddhist point of view, it can have quite strong emotional effects, and they can be quite varied. It can be liberating and exciting and joyous, or it can be scary, kind of fearful, or it can be confusing. What is going on? Where do I begin and end? So the emotional effects can change, and the same person can have different effects on different days. It's a bit like something sinks in a bit deeper, and you kind of respond in different ways. So but that's where metta comes in, just that kind of kindly capacity to hold whatever's going on. And somebody's got their birthday today, Debbie Jones. That's really nice. Happy birthday. Great. Somebody's suggesting we sing happy birthday. Somebody else says no.
It's
So maybe
not
we
my
should.
birthday, Lokabandhu. It's a lovely being's here 50th birthday, but I don't want to embarrass them by naming them.
Right. So maybe it's time to go.
Amagita just has.
Oh. So maybe we should all go and consume some earth element for our breakfast. And see you at 6 o'clock or 7:30 tonight, as appropriate. Thank you very much. Thanks, Chris, for organising us.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Have a good
Thanks,
day.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
See you.